traveling for business, Vice President Dr. Kathy Siegenthaler Wilson and Susan Russell. On the stage, we have a panel that are either speaking or may be helpful in answering questions that you may have here tonight. In no particular order, up on the stage, Levy Co-Chair Matt Hall, please stand. Josh Everly, Finley Fire Chief. Mayor Lydia Mahalik. Director of Operations of Finley City Schools, Dennis Fearon. Principal of Jacobs Elementary, Krista Miller. Head of Security at Finley City Schools, Mike Martine. Principal of Finley High School, Ryan Impey. Principal at Bigelow Hill Intermediate, Dr. Jennifer Tice. Principal at Donnell Middle School, Don Williams. And Co-Chief, Rob Martin. And Police Chief John Dunbar. Please give the board and our panelists a round of applause. I will begin with some opening remarks, followed by Mayor Mahalik and then Levy Co-Chair Matt Hall. Then we will open up for questions from the audience. This meeting is recorded and will be linked to the Citizens for Finley City Schools Facebook page and also WTOL Toledo 11 page. District guidelines in this district state Finley City School will provide a safe educational facilities and foster positive learning environments. In March, we held a community meeting in this room and listened to concerns expressed about security. From that meeting, we held inter-district meetings and meetings with the city and other safety personnel. From those meetings, we have proposed to partner with the city to add to our security across the district. Following areas will be maintained and added to security personnel, mental health services, and safety and surveillance equipment and training. The board reviewed these proposals and drafted a budget. It was estimated to maintain and improve these areas. Again, they are security personnel, mental health services, and safety and surveillance equipment and training. In listening to the community and to support this effort, the board voted to put a 1.5 mil levy on the November 6th ballot. 1 mil in this district generates $818,000. So this levy will generate $1.227 million and run for 5 years. District will report to the community where this revenue from this levy is spent on an annual basis in late July and early August of each year. The effects of this levy to a $100,000 homeowner is an increase of $52.50 per year, just over 14 cents a day. The levy will be on the ballot November 6th, as I stated earlier, and collection would begin January 1st of 2019 and run for 5 years if the levy would pass. We currently have safety plans, procedures, and drills in place. We plan to approve these if the opportunity presents itself. Again, a $100,000 homeowner, if the levy would pass, would be an increase of $52.50. A $200,000 homeowner would increase $105, and a $300,000 homeowner would increase $157.50. On the current proposal in our budget, 44.8% would go towards security personnel, with the city matching for the additional police officers. 47% towards mental health services, and 8.2% towards safety and surveillance equipment and training. I would now ask Mayor Mahalik to come to the podium for comments.
How about that? Okay. Eddie, the microphone's finally on, so you have to come back and repeat all that. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Oh, that's thanks.
I usually lower it for my assistant, but I have to raise it for the mayor.
Well, thank you and good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for your attention and your engagement on this very important issue. I thought it would be important for me to just talk to you very briefly about all of the collaboration that we've seen between your Finley City Schools and the City of Finley now in the last couple of years. forth relative to streets on snowy days, snowy and icy days, whether it's our firefighters or our police officers stopping by the schools in the district to know that there's a presence and that they care for them. Regardless of what it is, when Ed Kurt calls, I pick up the phone or we text back and forth because it's important to the children of our district. And even coordinating traumatic experiences that may happen to the kids of our district to the school directly, so that then the schools, from an administrative perspective, know how to handle those children. Anything that we can do to work together to make things better for the children of the district is vitally important from my perspective, and it definitely is here for all the faculty and staff here at Findlay City Schools. And so it was a no-brainer for me when we started talking about what could be potentially in terms of a further collaboration between the city and the city schools. I told Ed that we would do whatever we could to be supportive of their mission. The kids are so vitally important to us as a community, and I know you know that. You know, one of the things that I get to do on a consistent basis is visit the children in the district. I get to talk to them at our different buildings, and I have a lot of fun, particularly with our younger students. And they always ask, well, what does a mayor do? And one of the things that I tell them, and I focus the most important on, is it's my job as mayor to make sure that they're in this community and they're safe. And so this was a no-brainer for me in terms of what I could potentially offer this district in terms of our resources. This is a very small price to pay for the safety of our students. I've heard mayors from across the country retell their stories of issues that happen in their communities. And I'm tired of having to call and send condolences, whether it be a telephone conversation or a text message to fellow mayors, expressing my condolences and sadness and prayers for their community. And it can happen anywhere, at any point, in any given time. And I want you to know that our personnel here in the city of Findlay, police, fire, schools, EMS, regardless of who it is, we've been training consistently now for several years, and we think at this point in time we know we're prepared if and when it happens. But we can always do more, and that's really what this ask is about. But it's not just about the security piece. It's about the mental health piece. I have seen things change over the last several years. This is now my 7th year as mayor. I have seen things drastically change relative to mental health. Things are different now than what they were in the past. So whatever we can do to help support the students of the district in terms of their mental health, we should do so. And the technology piece is vital and very critical as well. You know, we are working towards an opportunity for us to coordinate our cameras, both here at the school so that they go directly into police dispatch. That way, our police dispatch has an eye in the sky and they know what's happening in any given building. And I think all that has to start with a good base, and I think we have that. And so this ask, what we're asking you tonight and what we're asking you to do in November is to support a plan that was derived after many meetings, many internal meetings, based upon what administrators and the leaders of this community feel like is best for the students of the district. So that's why I'm here, that's why we're supporting it as a city, and that's why I'll be putting it into our budget when it passes in November. Thank you.
One thing, it's Lydia's 7th year, it's my 5th year at Findlay City Schools, and Lydia and I have talked ever since I obtained a position here as superintendent, and I feel blessed and honored to do that. But one thing I've told her over and over is the strength of the city is the schools, and the strength of the schools is the city, and we have to work together. I'm really proud of the fact that we have great collaborations and great work together to try to make the city stronger and also make the school district stronger. With that, I'd ask that Matt Hall, Levy co-chair, come up to the podium for a few comments.
Thank you all for coming out tonight. Mom, thank you. I guess I need to work on my communication skills a little bit better explaining this levy. Again, my name is Matt Hall. I was raised in Findlay, went to Bigelow Elementary, Glenwood Middle School, and the high school. We lived in Cincinnati, our family did, for several years. When the opportunity came to move back to Findlay, we jumped at it and didn't think twice about moving into Findlay City and putting our kids into Findlay City schools. We've got a 4th grader at Wilson Vance, a 1st grader at Whittier Elementary, and our 3-year-old will soon be at Washington Preschool, where other 2 both attended. I've chaired several committees for the Findlay Rotary Club. I'm currently on the Chamber Advisory Board. I coach and on the board of Findlay Youth Baseball, and my family attends St. Michael's Church. I also helped chair the last levy renewal campaign, and I'm pleased to help with this as well. Stephanie Went is my co-chair. We've got an engaged and energized committee. Several members are here tonight. We've been busy fundraising for the campaign, which will go towards printing and advertising. We'll be placing yard signs in the next week. We've got 20 large yard signs placed throughout town. Please feel free to reach out if you have a high traffic spot you'd like to let us use. We will be speaking to civic groups and all the PTOs throughout the month of October. We will be having events prior to each of the remaining high school football games. We'll be in the homecoming and Halloween parades. We also have a Facebook page, Citizens for Findlay City Schools. We would welcome any volunteers if you'd like to assist with the campaign. And one other mention, the Findlay Hancock County Library's Community Read Pick for 2019 is his only child, and it highlights a 6-year-old and their path through a active shooter event. It's really worth the read. It goes hand in hand with the library's community read project for 2019 as well. But thank you again. We welcome any volunteers.
I have some more comments at the end, but we're going to kind of open things up if there's any questions here. Bart, you want to? Any questions from the audience?
Like to explain why every time you want money, you come for a property tax and not something else? Where only property owners pay the bill?
Well, basically by law, we're either allowed to go after an income tax or a property tax. In the past history, we've gone after property tax. The board's decision was to stay with the property tax and go after 1.5 million.
You're afraid of a sales tax.
Schools cannot go after a sales tax,
You're saying sales tax or property tax?
income or property.
Either one. Why, everybody pays if you do an income tax.
We just chose property tax.
I understand that. I want to want it. Why don't you want everybody to pay for it?
It's been the avenue for,
Instead of just property. It's supposed to be fair, isn't it?
Well, I can say, I'm the school treasurer. Property tax, you also have businesses to pay off their property. And income tax would be solely on the residents.
Why?
So this actually splits it across.
Pay income tax?
Not school district. And because that's the way it's designed by the legislature.
You need to get it changed where everybody pays. You still put it back on the property owners every time. Every time you go to the property owners.
Well, it is going to property owners, but it's also, in this case, it's going to the businesses as well. So I would argue that it actually leaves the property owners a little bit because it puts it on landlords as
Property
well.
owners, are they not?
Businesses are property owners.
It all goes to property owners. It doesn't matter where it is, it's still just property owners.
Right, so, yeah, businesses that own property, they pay, so Marathon, Cooper, they pay on their property as well, whereas an income tax, they would not pay, those businesses would not.
Getting back to my original statements about the meeting in March, the reason why the board went to the voters is we felt after that meeting in March, which there was about 250, 260 people in this room, after listening to that we would go back and ask the voters to say yes or no. That's where we're at. She's coming behind you.
Well, I can talk about it, actually. I understand your point, sir, but isn't there a vague, relationship, correlation to income and property as well? Now, maybe there is a more equitable way, but, I'm both, income earner and a property owner. And, I'm willing to pay for safer schools, either way. So, I mean, I understand your point, we're not all, heavily laden with rental properties, but there is still a relationship there that I don't see as, significant personally. Your opinion, you have your,
There's another one over here, Barbie.
That's Steve.
Thank you.
So I have a question about the actual building itself.
Yes.
Could you talk a little bit into detail associated with what does extra security mean? What the plan is for the mental health, and what the plan is for the actual, security, tools?
Yes.
The three parts.
Basically, the security, we would like to get police officers in our schools. Currently, we have some resource officers at the high school. We want to partner and go 50-50 with the additional, with the city, and add those police officers in the school. Basically, when we get people ready, and if you think about the timing of this levy, it's November 6th. If it would pass, the first funds are generated in January. We've already met with the city about expediting the process of getting the resource officers trained and ready to go to be in the school, so even second semester we could up those stakes. So basically what it will do is more than double our current security, and what it will do is it'll put a resource officer or police officer in every building every day. Beyond that, just to let you know, we've already had conversations with Finley Digital Academy and St. Mike's to also share with them and allow for our security to have a presence in their buildings too. And obviously with where Whittier and Wilson Vance are, Wilson Vance is very close to St. Mike's. Those are our kids too, and make sure that they're helping in that situation. Regarding mental health, I will tell you the board has stuck their neck out 3 years ago, and we have increased school counselors. It's not nearly enough for what we're facing in the schools on a day-to-day basis. I can bring the principals up here or any of the ones in the seats to come up here and tell you about our situations. So what it will do is it will increase those guidance counselors, at least 2 more into the elementaries, which is where we need some more help. And then we want to tie with what's going on with the counseling outside and what's going on inside to bridge that gap to make sure those kids are getting those services. So that would be at least 2 to 3 personnel with the counselors. Regarding surveillance, we've budgeted about, in the breakdown is 44.8% for security, 47% for mental health, and 8.2% for surveillance and security. One big thing that's hitting us, and Mr. Roth and I have just been looking at the last 2 weeks, our mandated safety training and ALICE training and whatnot, to keep those up to date and up to speed. It's very expensive for the district, and that would do that. And also, like Mayor Mahalik just said, we want to coordinate the cameras that we currently have in our building and also add to those cameras to have more surveillance around the outside of our buildings, and coordinate them with dispatch so that, God forbid, if we ever do have something, the dispatch is talking to units en route as they go, and they'll have eyes on the situation immediately. So that's basically our plan.
You mentioned the term resource officer, I believe.
Yes?
Can you kind of explain just a little bit what you mean by a resource officer? Who are these resource officers? What type of training do they have?
Yeah. Mike, do you want to talk about it? Sure.
Right now, we have 6 officers that work every day within our school district, and most of us are retired police officers or law enforcement somewhere with the sheriff's department, police department. We have a guy that's retired with the fire department. I kind of brought him in with his expertise in the fire background, with the things we had throughout the building that I thought he could really help us. And with his personality the way that it is, he builds great relationships with the students we have here, and the kids really like him. The fact also that he can help us. School resource officers are officers that go through a certain part of training that work with students, for the most part, work in the school district and work within the schools. That's basically their job. We also help the staff within the school system. They have us do certain duties during the day. I don't want to go into real big specifics of exactly what we do, but we help the staff with students that might need a little encouragement to get through their day. A school resource officer goes through special training. I just read an article today that National Association of School Resource Officers, they go through about a 2-month period where they have to be trained as a school resource officer to go into the schools. That is their job. They spend 8 hours a day within the school. They do discipline when needed. We do security. Obviously, that's the main part of our job, keep the staff and the students safe. We try to be more proactive today than being reactive, which you were in the past. We try to stay ahead of everything, use technology to our benefit. Our camera system has been upgraded immensely from the day that I started, it was about 8 years ago. We try to get the right people to do this job. It's important that you have a school resource officer that can build that relationship with students. And if you can do that, you find out that they end up trusting us a lot more. They come to talk with us about issues that are going on, not just here at school, but sometimes their families. We've dealt with maybe their families in the past, and we can understand what goes on when they come here to school, their mental health, the way that they think sometimes, what they do here at school. So it's important to us that we get the right person. That's kind of what a school resource officer is about. That helps you out a little bit.
I think it's also important to note that these individuals who will be hired are going to be certified law enforcement officers. They will be police officers, members of the Findlay Police Department. The Findlay Police Department is a CALEA certified department, and we go through that recertification every couple of years. They'll be as capable in the school as they would be out on the street. So they are, full-blown police officers. They will be sworn into the department as such.
And the other thing the mayor and I have talked about is, if everything's running fine in the school, if you look at logistically where our elementaries and our middle schools are across the city, logistically it pretty much spreads across the whole city. So that helps even in their coverage of the day-to-day operations of the police. So I just think it makes the whole city, a lot more presence. And logistically, they'll cover the whole city. Any other questions?
I don't know how relevant this is, but something that I always get concerned about when I hear about school safety is, so many of these things have happened and then somebody pulls a fire alarm and the kids leave the building. Has there been any movement, that you've seen in other communities or other schools, kind of a mitigation plan or something that would prevent, or an alternative plan that would be safer?
Well, we've kind of changed the way we operate with that without giving up too much detail. We have looked at it a little bit differently. I've had numerous meetings with Mr. Martine, and moving forward with the police, we'll talk with them. I will tell you that we just have had 2 trainings up at the Cube for the whole city on scenario with Hanco, the fire department, the police department, the sheriff's department. So we were all up there doing trainings. I think we'll continue to do more and more trainings. As our children are accustomed to fire drills, I think level 1, level 2, level 3 lockdown situations will continue to drill more and more. And we're just going to continue to do those things. Anybody else want to add to that?
Mr. Kirk, can you talk about the boot?
Yeah. The other thing with the sheriff's initiative is all Hancock County schools have an initiative to put the boot in the classroom. The boot is a metal device that drops in the door, and I think it holds up to 1,600 pounds pressure, which in our ALICE training, when we go to level 2 or 3 lockdown, that gives the educators different decisions to make, and the fact that they can know that the door is going to be secure and know that the response time in Findlay is very, very quick with our police department, with our fire, with our EMT. But at the same time, if you look at ALICE training, we train people to make the best decisions possible for their scenario. So the boot really enhanced our level 2 and level 3 lockdown. So that was funded through an initiative through the Sheriff's Department. Yes?
My question was about, a lot of, and I can't speak for other buildings, some of the buildings, the younger elementary and up to prior to middle school buildings, a lot of them are older doors with windows in them. So I don't know that the booth has been installed on all of those doors, but I believe as they're practicing their lockdown drills, I'm hearing that they're learning how to use the booth. But I guess I have concerns about how effective it would be if there is a class, a large window with a door. And then a second question was with those lockdown drills, I don't know if the kids are being told what to do if you're not in the room. And in the discussion in March, Matt brought up that the door's closed and that's it, it won't be opened. That sort of struck quite a fear in me for my child, for any child that's not. So I didn't know if that was something that would be added to the lockdown drill procedure, and maybe it is, maybe I'm just not putting it in my ass and want to
We have discussed that with the principals, and we're continuing to work through that. She's asking about kids that are in the hallway when we go to lockdown. The principals have those procedures in place. I don't want people to get upset with me, but we're not going to talk a lot about our procedures just for the fact it's a safety of the kids. Her first part of her question was about older doors that have glass in the doors. The one things that we'll look at beyond, and we've already looked at research into it, is the resilient that you can put on the glass that makes it bulletproof. The other thing that right now the lockdown company has a bulletproof plate that can slide in that glass, and then that covers the glass. So if you put the boot in, then you put the slide in. We just haven't gotten to the point where we've added those extra safety devices, but we're looking at the same thing that you just mentioned just now. Okay? Yes, sir.
I've also heard that there's fire violations involved with the booth, and some places, some municipalities, it's not legal to do that. I understand the difference between a incident, an intruder incident, and a fire case, but to address the basics of it also, many of those windows are on ground level also, and the shooter could appear from outside. So, I guess this all goes back to, yes, these are strategies, but is there any money in this bill to work with a database of at-risk individuals who come through the system? Many of the, if you go to Columbine, they've had some success with managing a database, which could be far more effective than a reactionary or protectionist kind of strategy, in my opinion. And is there going to be something of that effect in place?
So basically, Lydia and I have been in conversation with the University of Findlay, who has an analytical department to study those safety issues that you're talking about right there. We plan on continuing that with them and looking at all avenues, just as you said, in those categories.
So the answer is yes, it's included in this funding package?
There is possibility of it being in this funding package, yes.
So there is a possibility, is that a yes?
There's a possibility.
Okay.
Another question. Yes, sir.
So are you saying that this funding will finish all the installation of the booth? I know not all the booths have.
Presently, there's none of this funding going towards the boot. There are other fundraisers coming up from the Sheriff's Department, and we're to the point now where the amount that's been, we actually now are installed PK through 8, Dennis, is that right? We're installed PK through 8. Right now, right now at Millstream and here at the high school, we are not installed. But that is right now, that's where we're housing our security personnel at this time. And there is efforts to continue it and finish it out by the Sheriff's Department. Other questions? Yes, ma'am. Right. We've looked at that, and in all our meetings, we had that discussion. The three main areas was the personnel, the mental health, and then the safety and surveillance. Inside the safety and surveillance, we could start looking at that as a possibility. Those type of things, along with the glass and the other things that we can do to protect ourselves, we want to move in those areas. But we haven't made a final decision on those. But we're looking at those categories. We've had extensive discussion on it. Other questions? Anything else from anybody up on the panel? Any comments you'd like to make?
And I'll just say real quick as you're going to finish up, you know, one of the challenges, you mentioned the state legislature and how sometimes they tie our hands and don't allow us to do the things that we want to do. God bless their hearts. But you know, the other thing, it has to do with funding. And funding has been a big topic of conversation, both at the local government level and at the school district level. And so, in order for us to have the best for our kids and the best district for our kids, we have to be creative and collaborative in efforts like this in order to ensure their safety, so that we are prepared, God forbid, anything were to happen. And I think this is a really good opportunity to you know, have a conversation with the community about what they want. They told us what they wanted to see. We had internal conversations about what we could potentially provide. And so here's a great opportunity for us to say yes. If we say yes, then we move forward and we do the things that we said we were going to do. If we say no, then we look at other opportunities as well. But you know, everything we've done in the last several years, particularly at the city level, has been in a collaborative effort. Opportunities to be able to leverage resources are where our sweet spot really is. And this is a great opportunity for the youth in our district to try and ensure you know, that we've done everything that we could do so that they have a safe place to learn and to grow.
I'd like to make a reference to a video as you leave here tonight. It's called Shooter Shooter. It's lessons learned from Ohio school shooting. It's put out by the Ohio Department of Public Safety, and it's actually hosted by WBNS 10 TV out of Columbus, Ohio. Again, what Mr. Hall referenced earlier, the Findlay Hancock County Library Community Reads His Only Child. That author actually is going to be here on March 28, 2019, and that is the Community Reads for 2019. My final comments, public schools need to be a reflection of what their community wants and the services we provide in our PK through 12 educational programs. Findlay City Schools and the City of Findlay have many reasons to feel good about our successes and our collaborations. This is another opportunity for us to collaborate and to improve our security personnel, our mental health services, and our safety and surveillance equipment and training. Please make sure you have signed the tables at the entrance as you come in as we relay more information out to you. Thank you very much for your attendance here tonight. Please have safe travels home and enjoy the remainder of your evening. Thank you.